Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannon's Insurance, where you can be a member of the Shannon's Club. Pace Farm, the enjoyable egg. Hare and Forbes Machinery House. And Gun Lake Quarries.
On this week's show, I bring you to Campbelltown, New South Wales to showcase an iconic dealer principal representing decades of car sales, employing locals and helping the community. This is a Holden legend, and you're about to see it in this week's Classic Restos on the road. Paul Wakeling Holden, a family tradition since 1985. Our late legend Peter Brock opened the showroom here back in 1986 when they were working out of a shed in a paddock in the mud. The inception of the Wakeling automotive story. These are the Holden legends, and you may see some more coming up soon on Classic Restos.
Hi, I'm Scott Wakeling. I'm the Managing Director of the Paul Wakeling Motor Group. We've been part of the Holden family for as long as I can remember, certainly with Mum and Dad starting with Holden in the 80s in Canberra, journeying up to Campbelltown throughout Camden and down to the Highlands in that time. So continuing that legacy in terms of serving our communities and employing lots of staff, looking after everyone is really important for us as a family, and we're really proud to continue that legacy that Mum and Dad created. The Holden tradition for us, like many Australian families, runs really deep. Having Australia build its own vehicle throughout the years with Commodores and Kingswoods and all those sorts of products that everyone remembers fondly makes you hark back to fonder, gentler days, wistful days of travel and visiting family and friends. And Holden, I think, is a vehicle that allowed many Australians to have a lifestyle that is envious around the world. Despite its departure for sales, the Holden journey still continues for many hundreds of thousands of Holden customers in Australia, and the Holden network is still there and vibrant and looking after the community and those vehicles and those customers as they have done for generations. There's over 100 odd service outlets throughout the country that are there and willing to make sure that your Holden has its safe journey continue, and we're looking forward to seeing you as well. Over the years, we've invested a lot of emotional energy into the Holden brand in partnering with our customers and our staff. And for us, the departure as a sales operation of Holden throughout 2020, which was, as everyone knows, a horrible year for everyone, just means that we've now got to redouble our focus to make sure we continue it into the future, to make sure that we're still here for you and you know that you can come to us for anything in regards to your Holden servicing needs or even your parts needs down the track. Holden is not dead and buried. There's fantastic things ahead, both for dealerships and consumers alike. So if you want to have your vehicle serviced or look for any parts opportunities you've got, the Holden network is still here for you and looking forward to supporting you through your future.
Been with the Wakeling Automotive Group pretty much since 2006 is my second stint. I started with them back in 2001 and then had a bit of a break. It's been a very good adventure, that's for sure. The family environment that they have with everybody is an absolute thrill to be with, and it's a very rare company to work for that actually has that ability and that structure around it for all the staff. What does the Holden brand mean to me? It meant a lot. I worked with the Holden company in workshops since 1998. Up until the finish just last year. So when that finished, it was a bit of a very solemn moment. To now, it's still very solemn, and hopefully we see the cars coming back through the door for quite a period of time. With the Holden brand, at Wakelings, we're still able to service the Holden brand. So with us at the Wakeling Group, we service many varieties of cars, and it doesn't matter how old the vehicle is or how young the vehicle is. We're happy to see all makes and models. With Paul Wakeling, when I started back in 2001, he had all the time in the world for you, even though he didn't know you. And then when he stepped back, and then Scott Wakeling and then Paul Burgess came in and took over the company, they did exactly the same thing. and they just opened you with open arms and took you in, and it doesn't matter who it is, they've got all the time in the world to speak with people and to help out where they can with their family, and that's a beautiful part about the Wakelings, is that it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a customer, it doesn't matter if you're an employee, it doesn't matter if you're a family member. If they can help, they surely will. You look at what they do in the community spirit of what they put into is phenomenal, and they always have. You know, the hospital foundations as to what they put in, it's brilliant. And the more that they put into the hospitals, the better off it is for everyone within the community. The Holden brand has always been a family organisation, and it's always been, you know, the family car that you could always have. And the Wakelings took that on board and had it as a family business, and that's how they developed it. It's been a real good ride. There's no two ways about it.
I've been a motoring enthusiast all my life. My Coupe 4 is rare and very special. A real performance car with all-wheel drive grip. I'm not a car club bloke and I don't work on it myself, but I do have a great mechanic. One day, I might even get that HQ. When it comes to insurance, it's got to be Shannon's.
Shannon shares your passion. Call Shannon's on 13 46 46. Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Hare & Forbes Machinery House has been family owned and operated for over 85 years, and it's easy to see why. Planning on welding? Look at these welding tables and clamps, air compressors and different air tools, sandblasting cabinets, through to spray guns. Everyone is welcome at Machinery House. There are competitive freight rates around Australia, and you can buy online at machineryhouse.com.au. So remember, Hare & Forbes has the range.
It's an emotional question because it goes back until 1973 when I moved to Beasley and Bruce in Canberra, and suddenly realised that there was another product other than the one that I learnt in the beginning of my car career, and I grew to love the product and became very, very successful with it. Did a lot of time with Holden dealer councils and all that sort of stuff. And I felt that the move from our Canberra partnership that I had with Gerald Slavin to here, starting with Holden on its own, building from scratch, and then seeing the business grow has been, you know, a wonderful part of my career. Beasley and Bruce dealership became available because Mr. Beasley and Mr. Bruce were the original Holden dealers in Canberra. They were builders and they saw an opportunity, started in Queanbeyan actually, then moved to Canberra, and the guy who was the auditor of the company that I worked for prior to becoming involved with Holden, a guy called Frank Brewer, he was a good friend of Owen Rolfe, and Owen Rolfe and Frank Brewer took over the dealership and asked Jerry Slavin and myself to run it. At times, because they were number one and, you know, unbreakable, they were a little bit arrogant. And I remember making a phone call to a senior executive in Holden and saying, "You guys are going to lose market share this year." No, we've got it covered. But he didn't know that Ford had already asked their dealers to register 20 cars just to make sure. And so there was a certain amount of that there. But over time, you get to meet the real people in Holden. And there's some wonderful guys that I still keep in contact with actually, and that are part of our heritage and part of our success. So I think the time when the brand was Australia's own car was definitely the time when people were emotionally connected to the product. I remember driving the first 200 kilowatt car around that corner down there and thinking, wow, this thing's a bloody good product. When you ask about what my first connection or what Holden actually meant to me, initially, because I grew up in a Ford dealership, it was a product that I hated. And then it took me some time when I went to Beasley and Bruce at Canberra to actually become emotionally connected to the product. There were some guys, one, Barry Turner comes to mind, who worked for Holden and was the sales rep. And he was a good guy. So you start to develop relationships with the people and then the product. And you know, when the Commodore first came out in Canberra, we had a product launch. We sold 25 Commodores the first night. And I remember taking some people on a test drive in an SLE down out to the airport at Canberra, with all the trim, all the gear the car had, and the people were just blown away by the product. I guess that's probably the time that I thought, yeah. But having said that, when the HZ came out with a radial tune suspension, I think that probably, you know, the car drove so much better and drove so much better than its opposition. You know, it left the Falcons for dead. And Ford took a long while to catch up with that suspension that they ended up, you know, all but equaling the Holden product. That made a difference, and that was Peter Hammenberger. A magnificent product. When you talk about into the future, the continuation of Holden's commitment about parts and service is very important to people like ourselves, because we're the people that talked our customers into buying the product in the first place, and we'll continue to look after that interest of theirs and ours into the future. What GM decide to do in relation to product coming into Australia could be exciting, but at this stage it's limited product, and we just anticipate and we'll share in the good stuff that may be coming. In summary about where we're at, Wakeling Automotive is the family-owned business, and you as the people, the public, have supported us since 1985 here and in Canberra prior to that, and we're determined to continue looking after you no matter what vehicle you're driving and no matter what your problem is. We'll try and solve the problem.
Are you a motoring enthusiast? Does your current insurer understand your passion? At Shannon's, we're motoring enthusiasts, just like you. We understand the passion you have for your special car or bike. But did you know that Shannon's will also insure your daily drive, the car you drive every day? So if you're a motoring enthusiast, you've got to be with Shannon's. So call Shannon's on 13 46 46. Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Welcome back. Paul and Scott Wakeling, Holden legends. I like the sound of that. It's a motoring legacy that runs deep within countless thousands of Australians. And it's not so much the brand that you're into. This simply represents the ever-growing respect for Australia's own car. Guess we could say we have two levels of the Holden legends. We have our dedicated, certified service outlets, and then we have our private people. And it doesn't get much better than this. A glorious E.J. Holden on today's show.
As the first batch of Volvo's P1800 sports cars arrives in Australia and the Mini Moke is added to BMC's Australian range, Sterling Moss recovers from his near-fatal accident at Goodwood in April, General Motors Holdens introduced the new EJ for the 1962 year, which is 1 year past 1961. This all-new body style is a huge leap forward in aesthetic design over the previous EK Holden. A new look featuring a lower roofline with complementing bonnet. Better all-round visibility so you can see out. With front of car and rear of car, an all-new style has never been seen before on an Australian-built motor car. Mechanical improvements over last year's Holden include new duo servo brakes, strengthened front suspension, and an improved hydromatic transmission, so the wife can now drive even easier. General Motors Holden's EJ is the first to feature safety belt seat anchorage points.
and this run of car will see the 1 millionth Holden. Trade in your Austin and trade up to Holden for a little over £1,000. Contact your Holden dealer. Telephone number 122. Holden EJ. It's new. It's for you.
What is it about the old car, Steve? The smell of the old car, the style of the old car. What a fantastic example of an EJ.
Just love the old cars. I don't know what it is about them. Just love them.
Okay, tell us, where did you find this?
It was actually on the internet. I got it off a guy in Albion Park. He'd used it for parts, and I fixed it all up.
History, was it sitting around at all?
I know it had been sitting in a shed out west somewhere for about 25 years. Yeah.
And Steve, a few genuine NASCO accessories on the car as well. Some knuckle plates there behind the door handles, and also the weather shield on the door.
Yep. Yeah, I spent a lot of time searching around for them. They wasn't easy to find, but yeah, you get them if you look.
Okay, Steve, what's happening up front with the engine?
It's a reconditioned engine. It's not the original one, but it's the original type of engine, and it's all standard.
Being the last of the grey too, EH to come out the next year, being the host of the red engine.
That's right, yeah. I prefer the grey ones. I like the sound of them.
They ran a long time, 1948 through to 62. They got a good run out of the grey, didn't they?
Yeah, they certainly did, Fletch. It's they made a lot of them, yeah.
And what's amazing too, in such a time where the Holden as a manufacturer got away for so long with that one engine, so many vehicle shapes and body designs, bright work, a well-built car, quite a bit of metal in the early ones as well. The bright work, as I've mentioned many times on Classic Restos before, sensational. Some of the early grills and the stainless steel work, the effort that they put into the bodies, I really think is a paramount thing that they did over the years.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there. Yeah, it's they got a bit of class with all that sort of stuff, haven't they? Yeah.
When we think back of the days of the design and the clay models around the back of the car, that'd just have to be a modeller's picnic all day long. That's a beautiful shape. The shape of that, the boot lid, how that comes down, angular there. Nice shape in the back of these EJs.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. Yeah, it really is different. Yeah, it's a bit different to the model before, that's for sure.
When we look at an EK, with all due respects, almighty cars in their day, but to go from that, the EK shape to the first of this EJ, there's no vehicle design on today's market from one year to the other that can change so much. They were worlds apart, weren't they?
Absolutely, yeah, they were, yeah. So that's for sure, yeah.
The EK had the 50s styling with a high roof line, a high bonnet line, and then all of a sudden, wacko, look out, we've got this EJ lower to the ground and a sleeker look as well. What a transformation it really was. Now, as a car, Steve, how does it drive?
Yeah, it drives pretty good. It doesn't drive like your modern car, but it's good fun to drive, yeah.
It's a modern car back in 62.
Absolutely it was, yeah.
And you think of all the pastel colours too of these beautiful cars as well. The pinks and the sky blues, and being a kid and cast your mind back in remembering these cars getting around, and a beautiful era when that comes to mind.
Yeah, I learned to drive in a car like that, and I don't know, it's just part of me, yeah.
Now, Steve, before we let you go, share with us, what's your day job?
I'm a tow truck driver. I have a tow truck in the Southern Highlands. Yeah.
What's the name of it?
It's called Buddy's Car Transport.
Buddy's?
Car Transport, yeah.
There you go, mate. Good on you. Well, keep up your great work there, and thanks for bringing the EJ along. And also as well, we've got a very special person with us here today. His name's Hayden, and the grandson of this guy here. So yeah, we'll be catching up with Hayden very, very soon. Thanks very much, Steve.
No worries, Fletch. Thank you. Yeah, the car means a lot to me. It's I've got good memories of early Holdens from when I was a teenager, and even earlier when I got picked up from school in one, and going on holidays in one. I just have good memories of them. I just love them. Yeah, the feeling I had when I got it was really excited about it, really happy to do it up, and yeah, I looked a long time before I could find one that was any good. And yeah, it's a long time looking for one. Yeah, you turn her on and off you go, and I just love the sound of it and love the experience of driving it, and it's great fun to drive along. I just love it, you know, arm on the window and yeah, breeze coming in, and yeah, it's really good fun, you know. You never get tired of it. I've got an 8-year-old grandson who helps me a lot with the old Holden, and he gets a lot of pleasure out of it, and he just loves coming for runs in it as well.
How I enjoy spending time with Pop is working on like the trike and working on the EJs and working on the EJ and working on trailers and things, making them all nice. I'm 8 years old. I've done a lot of work on that Holden. I've helped a lot with the engines and changing the oil and a lot of things like that. I do a lot of painting as well. Pop's just started teaching me how to use the actual spray gun. I love the shape of the boot. I love the shape of the boot, how it curves up like that. I think that looks really cool. I personally like being around the old cars a lot more, and I hope to be around them for the rest of my life. I think it's pretty cool that the Holden dealership still services your car, but they don't make them like this one anymore. Oh, well, I hope you've enjoyed a bit of Pop's EJ today.
Well, I hope you've really enjoyed this week's episode of Classic Restos, with emphasis on our Holden legends. Of course, rounding off today's show with Steve and Hayden with this immaculate EJ Holden. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching.
You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ClassicRestosTV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance, where you can be a member of the Shannons Club, Pace Farm the Enjoyable Egg, Hare and Forbes Machinery House, and Gun Lake Quarries.